But the one thing that has to happen is that you can't just throw out anecdotes. You have to sort of build, these bigger theories have to be built up. There's a great deal on the nature of neurosis, on pathology, what constitutes schizophrenia, how those arise. We're starting off with that in the early stages about what constitutes some of these, well, basically what will constitute the perfect human 2.0. What will he be like? And then when you know that, you can sort of measure how far we've gone, isn't it? Are we halfway along the road, or are we, a bit further along the road, or what have you? Each person needs a sort of measuring rod to say, yeah, how far have we come, to this sort of creature that's going to inhabit this world. And then it moves up through a very distinct set of stages until we come to the solutions to get into this Achilles heel of evil. In the past, I've just mentioned the metaphysical truism that evil is anti-natural. And of course, to say it's anti-nature, what do we know about nature? So right there, we've even got a question, what do you mean, Michael, when you say nature? Well, I mean the inherent intelligence.
Just walking on the bare feet, on the ground, on the soil. That's lost in concrete cities.
I mean the negentropic, holotropic intelligence that surrounds, that has been mistakenly called God. It is intelligent. It is a god or a goddess. I can understand why in medieval days they did think of this. But it doesn't work today. And it certainly doesn't work to think of a centralized, self-contained, remote intelligence, which is called God, right? That doesn't work. It doesn't even hold scientific logic. That intelligence exists, but that intelligence is ambient. It is atomic. It's in everything. It's in a little flake of sellotape sticking to the side of a wall. It's in the chewing gum. It's in the atoms. It's in the guitar strings. It's in everything that you look at. So that knowledge is omnidirectional. It is completely plastic. And in the medieval days, and believe me, there's still people today with that medieval view, seeking for that removed God on his mountain, centralized, set apart, but all creative intelligence, right? This nucleated God. This is total nonsense. It leads nowhere except to more metaphysical conundrums. That intelligence certainly exists, but it's in everything you look at, both human and non-human, animate and non-animate. And we still, even with quantum science, even with so many fantastic discoveries conclusively proving this, with holographic theory and what have you, and even now with even neuroscientific discoveries about how the brain works, most people still are incapable of understanding this. They still are working from a medieval worldview from which they have to be awakened. And so touching those nerves is very, very sensitive. But once you fully grasp this ambient intelligent reality, the matrix of nature, that when I say nature, that's what I mean. I'm talking about that all-encompassing, all-pervading, ambient intelligence that's with you, all around you. It's the light, it's the air you breathe, it's every single place, it's in your body, it's everything you do, it's everything you think. It can never be anywhere else except close to you. Tennyson said in one of his poems, nearer is it than hands and feet. Right? It's closer to you than your own body, this reality. There's no looking outside for it or into somebody else. Nearer is he than breathing, and nearer than hands and feet. And when the person you talk about, what's the end result of all of this, is to have an individual step into that inviolably, not just for a few minutes, not just for a few seconds, now and again in a magical moment of euphoria, but it's an absolute ownership of that state. We are kept outside that state by the barbed wire of not feeling worthy, because we've lived amongst a chorus of voices saying you're a sinner, you're not worthy, you're a failure, you're nothing. You see, all of that stuff and then we embody it, called the superego. And so I take people through all of this matrix so that they can be under no illusion. I want people to be bringing their note papers, bringing and writing stuff down and taking notes, not just of the sources, I always recommend that, but even of the individual points, because I'm creating a tree of life the right way up to it, because we've been living like with an inverted tree of life. You mentioned inversion earlier about how they invert the good and the bad. Well, yeah. I've spoken before in my Outsider series, I've spoken about this thing called this hideous inverted tree of life. A dark, pestilential thing with shame and guilt at the top of it, and other syndromes you see that began it. In my Disciples of the Mysterium work, I talk about even going beyond the shame and the guilt, that there's something even more rotten at the core of the seed, this thing called the mysterium, or the part of the mind, a part of the ego that generates these illusions, that literally generates falsity and phantasmagorias to believe in, and then these infect the minds of millions of people down through the world. We look at that, and we see that from that inverted tree comes the denial of the denial, the aggression, the decoration of the incarceration, the projection, the blame, you know, all these syndromes that we have, the avoidance, all of these, even the mental derangement. I've even gone so far as to say that most people's mental derangement is yet again another cop-out, another inability to turn around and face the truth, that the mind, the ego would rather even self-destruct than face the truth, you see. So a lot of the phenomena we see in the world, and also not to mention the preoccupation with domestic minutiae. I know we've been kind of bashing it in this program, but in a way we kind of have to, because that's another escape, the immense immersion into the domestic and into the domestic and the social roles that we play. Again, at the cost of selfhood, you see. Now, how do you then invert that tree and create a proper tree of life that's going in the right direction, that can be ascended towards the true goal? You know, that's a very elaborate process, because we're making a phase change. Now, I would say that we're being helped. There are constellational changes, shall we say. There's archetypal things happening that are assisting not just individuals. This always used to be the precinct, or this used to be the, you know, the sort of the dominion of special individuals in the past. The remarkable thing about today is that we are actually able to see this happening on a social level. You and I just talking right across this medium called the internet is part of what I'm talking about, because we have both the esoteric knowledge, the awarenesses and the revelations. You spoke of so many earlier today in your show. When anybody even mentions news reports and awarenesses or whistleblowing facts or new secrets that come out, that's what I'm talking about. This remarkable thing that we have all of this occult knowledge that used to be hidden from us. That the big brother could always say, you must be joking. You have no proof of any of these things happening. Daily the proof is coming out about these conspiracies. And then we have something else. We have the medium by which to broadcast it, in which to discuss it. You see, these two phenomenal, absolutely modern things that have no precedent. Neither one of those have precedent. In the past, there was only a knowledgeable man, a knowledgeable outsider, a knowledgeable investigator who spent every day of his life trying to research things, unimaginable sacrifice, to just find out even simple little things about the origin of the church, or the origin of royalty, or, you know, the origin of some even individual, like a investigative reporter trying to take on one cabal or one banker's, you know, foible or whatever. The work and the effort that it took. Now people can do it just with a few presses of the button, find out the most extraordinary things. So it's the coming together right now of this occult knowledge and the medium as well. Leaves a person like me in no doubt about the uniqueness of our time and our age. And so on the other hand, you say, wouldn't it be awful if events, get-togethers, you know, became extinct? Because they are going to become extinct. The very fact of even good people getting together in person is going to become pretty much history soon if we're not careful. And that would be very, very sad.